Let's call this meeting to order. If everyone join me in salute to the flag. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Moving on to public participation, this is time set aside for the public to address the council on any item described in the notice for this hearing. I have one blue card. City Attorney, can we address this topic if it's not on the agenda? Sorry.
That's definitely up to the council, up to you, Mayor. The Brown Act does only allow or only state that you only have to allow comments on items that are on the agenda for special meetings. But that's obviously, okay. Mayor, if you wanted to open it up, that's
Absolutely.
up to you. We'll
open it up to the large crowd audience. Mr. Nazrati, if you'd like to come address the council.
Hello, how are you guys doing? My name is Andrew Nazrati. I think I know nearly everyone here. I've already talked to Mr. Soyseth about this and Councilmember Jacob. I think that there needs to be some reconsideration for the current process that we have in place for electing a mayor. As it currently stands, only people from districts 2 and 4, sitting council members from districts 2 and 4 would ever be eligible to run for mayor as a sitting council member. Districts 1 and 3 would always be paired up against the mayoral race. My proposal for, I've been thinking about it a little bit, I believe to make this fair across the entire town. I understand that for this current race, there's not much we can do. It's already too far gone. But for future races, if a person from districts 2 and 4 wanted to also run for mayor, if we can set a deadline for the incumbent to declare and forfeit their seat for the council in the event that they lost. As it stands right now, a loss from either of those 2 districts would still give you the position as council, and the districts 1 and 3 would never have that opportunity. That's just something that I think should be considered to equalize it across the entire city. There's probably alternate solutions too, but that's just the first thing that came to mind as a possible solution to that process. Is there any, and then, yeah, I think that's the basic concern that I have with that process. I don't know if there's discussion at this point or just an opportunity for me to declare my concern.
No, I don't think there's any discussion at this point, but I do know that our clerk who handles our elections, if you have any great ideas or anybody else has some ideas to bring forward, we're always open to them. But thank you so much for bringing that forward.
Thanks.
Any additional comments or questions from the audience? All right, moving on, declaration of conflicts of interest and disqualifications. Seeing none. Scheduled matters, a request to approve agreements and appropriate funds for city project number 0828, State Route 99, Folkerth Road Interchange. Mr. Bray.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the council. And I'm excited to say afternoon and not evening. I do like this time. Before you
plug for us changing our
that's
times.
Right.
Yeah.
Is this on? Yeah. Before you tonight are multiple actions related to project number 0828 SR99 Folkerth Road Interchange. In summary, the actions consist of authorizing the city manager to enter into a project-specific maintenance agreement with Caltrans, appropriating just over $9 million of capital facility fee funds, approving a construction agreement with AG Construction in the amount of $11.3 million, approving an amendment number 7 to OmniMeans for engineering services during construction, and approving an agreement with NV5 for construction management services. This project will address growth-related transportation impacts before they occur as the Turlock Regional Industrial Park develops. And I do have one conceptual visual image of what the completed interchange will look like. The project will relocate the southbound on and off ramps to the west to create proper separation of traffic signals with the ramps at Folkerth Road and provide enough stacking on the southbound off ramp. Also, this project will widen Folkerth Road underneath SR99 and install new curb gutter, sidewalk, and improve the surfacing on Folkerth Road. Modifications to the traffic signal at Countryside and Folkerth will occur to better facilitate the interchange. Both north and southbound ramp intersections with Folkerth Road will be signalized as well. Currently, the northbound on and off ramp interchange or intersection at Folkerth Road is not signalized, and so that'll be a new improvement that's added. Landscaping will not be installed with this project. However, the exposed soil will be hydroseeded to prevent erosion. This project has quite a long history, so I'll kind of touch on some of the milestones. The City Council first accepted a project study report, or a PSR, on this interchange in 1997, 21 years ago. This project didn't have much activity until 2008, when the city entered into an agreement with OmniMeans for the preliminary engineering, design, environmental, right-of-way, and final design phases. City staff and OmniMeans worked through the phases with Caltrans staff and through their processes. In 2015, this project was determined to be shovel-ready, pending the final property acquisition. At that time, the city had not collected enough funds to move the project forward into construction, so the project sat idle while the property acquisition process completed. In the fall of 2017, the city determined that enough funding had been collected in the CFF program in both the transportation and admin components to move the project into construction. In December of 2017, the city was awarded $2.5 million of regionally competitive SB1 funds by StanCog through the local partnership program. And then in February of 2018, again, the city was awarded competitive SB1 funds, but this time the project was selected on a statewide selection. If you remember, this was the only project in the region to be selected for the statewide competitive SB1 funds. This brought the SB1 funds up to $5.5 million. The city advertised the project on July 25th, 2018, and we received 5 bids on August 29th. The lowest bidder was AG Construction with a bid in the amount of $11,295,867. The low bid was approximately $1.9 million over the engineer's estimate. This issue can be partially attributed to issues such as rising costs of construction, inflation, the lack of availability of available contractors to perform the work, and also the accelerated construction schedule. The project is expected to break ground September 17th, in 2.5 weeks. Caltrans has required the city to enter into a project-specific maintenance agreement, which delineates the responsibility for maintenance between both the city and Caltrans. This is a standard practice that Caltrans does now. The maintenance items for this project that the city will be responsible for are typical items such as curb, gutter, sidewalk, and roadway improvements. Caltrans will maintain the on and off ramps and all items along the state highway system. And the city will also enter into 2 separate professional services contracts for the execution of this project. The first is an amendment to the contract with OmniMeans to provide engineering services during construction, such as providing design interpretation, answering RFIs, reviewing proposed changes to the design, and ensuring overall construction is complying with the original design intent. The second professional services contract is for construction management services with NV5 of Manteca. The city advertised an RFP for construction management services, of which 3 proposals was received. NV5 ranked the highest of all the proposals, and reference checks supported the excellent working relationships NV5 has developed on previous projects. NV5 has numerous experience with Caltrans projects and will provide the city's first point of contact for project management duty and coordination with outside agencies. Now on to the fun part, the funding. Since the project inception, the project was identified to be funded from the CFF program, and fees have been collected from the developments as they occur citywide. This project was originally estimated to cost $9.3 million. At the time the project was bid, the revised construction bids were estimated $9.4 million with a total construction cost of $12 million. The actual bids received reflect a construction bid of $11.3 million and a total construction cost of $14 million. With the inclusion of the SB1 funds at $5.5 million, the net impact to the CFF transportation component for this project is estimated to be within the original estimate. The city has not collected enough funds in the transportation component of the CFF to cover all of these costs as of yet. However, the CFF admin component has sufficient funds to make an interfund loan to the transportation component. This is a quasi-standard practice, and it has been done on multiple projects before. The city will continue to collect fees for this project in the transportation component until the interfund loan is repaid. At the current projections, the interfund loan is expected to be repaid in 5 years. So to recap, this project would not be moving forward at this time without the use of SB1 funds. No general fund dollars will be spent on this project. An interfund loan from the CFF admin component will be used to cover the costs and will be repaid as funds are collected. This project is scheduled for a groundbreaking ceremony on September 17th at 11 a.m. And this project is expected to last 1 year, completing all of the work by the fall of 2019. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Nathan Bray at this time? Yes.
Yeah, Nathan, I have a couple of questions, and sorry I didn't get to you earlier, but
That's okay.
regarding the loan that we're going to get from the admin, what is the actual amount of that portion?
The actual amount of the loan,
The loan from the admin?
it is, I have it right here. It's just over 3 million, but I can get you the exact amount. $3,513,787.
Okay. 3.5.
So-
And we're,
so
I
that-
saw here that we were looking at a 5-year payback. Now, not being familiar with how the city loans money from one department to the other, how do we actually, okay, we're gonna borrow $3.5 million from admin. We plan to pay it back in 5 years. Do we pay any interest on this to the one, from one department to the other? Or how do we usually do this?
Yeah, so usually we do pay interest on an interfund loan. And Jose, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how it has been done in the past, and I believe that's what is supposed to occur in general accounting practices.
Okay, because that's one of my big concerns with government per se, is that we take money out of one department or division or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna talk about Social Security. But anyway, where you borrow money and then we tend to not put it back where we got it from. So I'm really concerned with that.
So
I'd like to make sure that's firm, that that money will be paid back on a regular, that I know it says as revenue.
exactly. So what we've done in the past and what we would propose doing now is we would create a separate payment code in the budget that identifies monies to be moved over with every budget cycle. And that money is tracked until the final amount has been paid over. The reason it says as revenues come in and it's an estimated 5-year is because this really is based on development. At the current development projections, we are estimating about 5 years. That there are some other projects that are slated to be used out of that Fund 305 or the CFF transportation. Those projects have been taken out to the side, so this project won't impact any of the other projects that are slated to be constructed there too.
Okay. Yes.
So, in planning this out, if SB 1 were to be taken away by the voters, where would that money come from then? Do we have a backup?
Yeah, these funds have already been collected and they've already been allocated to the city of Turlock. And so these are not our ongoing SB1 funds that we're receiving. These are our funds as long as we use them for this project.
But we could use those SB funds for any,
No.
only
So
for interchange?
there's two different kind of SB1 pots. There's our annual SB1 funds, which right now the city is projected to receive $1.2 million a year. These funds they are a function of SB1 funds, but they are through a different program that the state controls, the local partnership program. And so those are for project-specific competitive type selections. So we can't use those monies for a different project or just kind of throughout town. Those are identified just for this project.
And the time sensitivity of having a special meeting? Are
Time
we-
sensitivity is to have enough time to execute an agreement with the contractor so we can have a groundbreaking ceremony in the summer. When we had applied for these funds in December and then again in late January, it was communicated that this project would be in construction this summer, and that was one of the reasons that we were selected.
So if we wouldn't get the funding, they'd take it away if we didn't get it done before summer?
I don't know the exact recourse, but that has been the understanding all along.
So part of the discussion has been with the California Transportation Commission and with also StanCog is that SB1 funds need to go to shovel-ready projects and they need to go now. And so we've even seen headlines up in Modesto how Measure L funds aren't getting executed quick enough. And so constituents that are paying tax dollars want to see actual projects go. And so part of the argument that we made when I sat in front of the CTC and sat in front of StanCog was that we have a shovel-ready project and we would start it this summer and we would start it as quickly as possible. And so it's very important, based off that premise, that we keep our word to the CTC and also to StanCog that Turlock has truly a shovel-ready project, that this doesn't get pushed to December, January, February, that it happens in the summer.
Yeah, you talked about the accelerated schedule. Typically, the time that we open the bids, usually construction starts about 3 months after. And so we're opening and we're having a kickoff meeting less than a month later. So it is an extremely tight
Right, so
accelerated schedule.
could we have had this on the last special meeting we just had, addendum, or could we not have had this on a Tuesday? I just feel like the more special meetings we're having, and this is huge, this is taxpayers' money, and it's a significant amount of money, and they want their roads fixed. So it just seems weird that we're having it incrementally and not just doing it as a normal thing so that people are like, oh, yeah, okay, that's just something we expected.
Yeah, definitely. We had hoped to meet those timelines. When we had advertised the project on July 25th, we had a council meeting the night before that authorized the advertisement of that. We couldn't have done that any sooner because we hadn't received Caltrans approval to advertise yet. So that was the soonest we could advertise it. It was not recommended to have a shorter duration of a bid time of less than 5 weeks for this size of a project. And so we did the minimum that we felt was we would receive competitive bids, and that put us at opening last Wednesday or the 29th. If we would have waited until the September 11th council meeting, I don't think we would have had a construction groundbreaking ceremony in September. And so that September deadline was really pushing this meeting.
So is this ceremony our impetus for this? I mean, we could have it any time, right? That doesn't make the construction start or not start. I mean, is it just ceremonial, we have to do this fast?
It is, but at the same time, we want to ensure that we have a contractor under contract. They're going to be on site. They're providing their equipment. So it was highly anticipated that we would have a contractor under contract at the time the groundbreaking ceremony started.
Yes, city manager, yeah. Sorry.
No, thank you. Just a quick question for Nathan. Setting aside the ceremony, when do you expect them to start turning dirt at the site?
So we would have the signs posted notifying everyone of the anticipated construction. I would anticipate start seeing some movement probably within a month, so probably by the middle of October.
But the time between now and then is not filled with inactivity on the part of the contractor and the city.
Correct, it is not, yeah. From the moment we execute an agreement, we'll be going through project submittals, going through the encroachment permit process that the contractor has to go through with Caltrans before that they can actually start the work.
Councilman Dehart.
Thanks, Mayor. Mr. Bray, just got a real quick question. We're talking about 1.3 coming from the admin fund. What kind of lost opportunity are we talking about by using those funds to complete that monetary commitment?
Sorry, say that again?
All projects come with a cost. Some of them are the actual dollar value it takes to construct. Other costs have to do with things that we can't do when we commit funds other than how they were originally intended. What kinds of projects cannot be taken on as a result of committing that 1.3 or 3.6, excuse me?
Yeah, 3.6. It's not a question of they will not be committed or they will not be taken on right now. It's a matter of delaying them. When this project was deemed it was ready to go forward, it was under the assumption that we don't have enough CFF transportation, and the funding strategy was that we would use the admin component to fund that. So there are not identified projects that are being delayed as a result of this loan. They were already pushed out far enough that they're not being delayed, and there's no projects that we are no longer doing because of this action.
Let me be more specific then. I understand the CFF transportation component. I guess what I don't understand, and I need a little education, what does CFF administration mean? In other words, what would those funds have been used for? If not transportation, what kinds of projects would they have been used for?
Yeah, so the CFF in whole talks about the impacts that development has to police, fire, and general city services, as well as transportation. So the admin component of the CFF talks about the replacement costs for City Hall, the replacement costs for other general admin functions. At this time, we are not looking at building a new City Hall. We're not looking at having these large capital costs for these general admin components related to development. So those are the typical items that the CFF admin fees cover.
So I understand now that to mean the CFF admin really means real estate or a high intense dollar commitment.
It can mean real estate. It can also mean physical construction. So whether the city is looking at rebuilding a new city hall somewhere else and we need to buy land for that, or we are looking at going up or expanding in the back, all of those costs have been identified and laid out in the specific program. And off the top of my head, I can't think of what all of those projects are.
Okay, when was the last time we used the CFF admin? Do you recall?
I believe we,
Just to get a flavor.
other than a loan, I can't think of the most recent time that we've used those. Since those costs are so high, and they are related to the development of the city, your full build out of your general plan. The impacts to your transportation network and your other networks are small in size, but they're sporadic throughout the town. The admin component is large in size, but you only need one or two, or a smaller amount of a larger project. So I can't remember off the top of my head the last time we had spent funds out of the CFF admin.
So intentionally speaking, from the very get-go of this whole project, we planned on using the admin CFF.
We planned on using that as a buffer if we hadn't collected enough CFF transportation funds to build the project at the time that it was right to build.
Thank you for that. It's not something I understood, so I appreciate the clarification.
Okay.
It does seem to me, though, that we need to ensure differentiation between the transportation and the administrative CFF portions. Woe be us if we were in fact looking for some CFF admin
Yeah.
and we didn't have it.
Exactly.
I guess that's what I'm responded
Yeah,
to. so-
and there's nothing that is in the pike right now that is being delayed or that needs those funds, that this loan would take away from.
So, no lost opportunity.
No.
Okay, thanks.
Short answer, no.
So piggybacking off of that, so that CFF funds couldn't be used for the roof when we had a problem at the public safety facility, or if something disastrous happened to the facility. And one more question before I let you answer here. And could the radios be taking some funding from that because it's fire police?
Yeah, so the CFF the CFF has a list of all the different projects that are required to the city based upon growth and development. And it's all based upon the full build out of the general plan. The maintenance of existing city facilities do not qualify for the use of CFF funds. If there is a project that would otherwise qualify for CFF funds but is not included as one of the available projects, then we cannot use those funds for that project. As time goes on, we have the availability to relook at the CFF, and we reach out to the different departments and we ask, are there projects that are now needed or that we hadn't thought about at some previous iteration of the CFF that we need to revise our CFF to collect? We looked for the radio and the CAD RMS system. It was not an identified project in there, unfortunately, and the roof repairs would not qualify for that. We did build the fire training, live fire training facility. That was a majority of the funding for that was out of the CFF. That was a project that was identified. It's a separate project, but it was something that was identified in the plan that we had collected fees on.
Additional questions or comments? How about from the audience? All right. Audience, singular member. All right, bring it back. Any additional comments or questions? Yes.
So you said that the SB 1 funds couldn't be used for residential roads. It had to be specific or a certain amount of it. Are there any other portions of the funding that could have been used for just residential roads instead?
Not of this funding, no. And so this funding really is broken up between the SB 1 funds, the competitive funds that are just for this project, and the other are the CFF funds. The CFF has a slew of projects that are on there that are citywide, from the north to the south, the east to the west. We've identified projects that, as development occurs on a citywide basis, we collect fees on, and we assess what is the highest need for those funds to be, used. What issues are we going to mitigate? And so it really is, from a staff level, our recommendation. When we develop the budgets, when we do the CIPs, these are the issues that we anticipate we're going to need to spend these funds on. And so if a project isn't identified in that list, say if it's a local road that we want to repave, we get all this money sitting here, but we can't use it for that unless it's on that list.
So if we postpone this vote until Tuesday, where does that put you? How much would that cost if we didn't make the decision tonight?
We would more than likely need to reschedule the groundbreaking ceremony. It is an effort that's been coordinated between Caltrans and StanCog and the city of Turlock and other local businesses. So we would need to reschedule that. The construction would not start until probably a week or two later. The fiscal costs are not great, but it is the end. We would be starting, having a groundbreaking meeting closer towards October rather than September, which is when we did say in our grant documents that we would be in construction this summer. And so fiscal impact isn't that great.
I guess the follow-on question to that is the grant in jeopardy if we delay? That's really the question. And
Yeah, and so I think that if we do not construct this project right now, in terms of this summer, then we will lose the funds. I do not know if there is a drop-dead date of which you have to enter into an agreement. I have not seen that.
I think more importantly, it's not just about this 5.5 million, it's about future funds that we go ask the California Transportation Commission for, and Stancog and our colleagues. There are quite a few other people in the county at Stancog that wanted these funds for their project, and we were successful in convincing them that Folkworth was the right project. It's been since 1997 that we've been talking about this, and we said that we were shovel-ready and that we could start this summer. And so we went as quick as possible, but to honor our commitment that's in the grant documents and that's in for Stancog and all the others. So I think that it's not just merely a groundbreaking ceremony. It's about kicking it off, getting construction underway, showing residents that their hard-earned tax dollars are hard at work for them. And I think that it's just important to, like I said, continue to have the integrity when we go to ask for more money in the future, that the city of Turlock is known for keeping their commitments. And I think that that's what's at jeopardy. So, yes, city manager.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
All right, many are called. A quick question again for Nathan. Most of us here have seen Gantt charts, and we know critical path and how important that is in project management. And you also know that if you're a minute late for a train, you're going to wait 45 minutes for the next train to come, and you're going to be 46 minutes late to your destination. How does that start to stack up in a project like this with several moving parts when we push the scheduled completion date out? Does it affect a chain of actions? Does it introduce a greater level of uncertainty?
Yeah.
How does that work for something like this?
Yeah, it can. As we are not under contract yet, the contractor has not provided a construction schedule. So it's hard to see exactly what those delays are, but that is the same thought process. Is once we start causing the delay impacts other things. And since if the city causes the delay, we are responsible for the financial implications that cause. If the contractor can't get a sub because he was planning on doing it on X and it pushed a week later and they're available at another job, that is on the city. The anticipated council meeting for today was communicated to the bidders. Not that it will be awarded, but that this is the anticipated date of which it will be held, as well as the anticipated date of the pre-construction meeting. And so those are not commitments that we have made to the contractors, but it was our best guess, and it is in an effort to try and facilitate this fast-paced schedule.
Additional comments, questions? Yes.
Yeah, okay, I'm not a proponent of special meetings, I think everybody knows that, I've made that clear. But I'm also not in favor of putting things off longer, because we've noticed that the longer we put them off, the more expensive the projects become. So I figure we're here, let's make a decision, let's move on with it. I don't want to put it off to another day.
Additional comments, questions? Yes.
So, you said that they knew that we were having this meeting today. How long ago did they know? I mean, I only got this information to look at. I had 25 hours to study it if I wanted. So did they know before us? And if so, why, again, we had a special meeting just last week. Could we have put it on then? I mean, it's just, I feel like we're doing something that doesn't seem like it's transparent here. I'm just worried about that.
Okay. Yeah, and so it was identified that the earliest reasonable time that we could make an award to a contractor was this date. And so that was made available to the contractors through the bid documents, that this is the earliest time and we anticipated going here. We could not have done it at the last special meeting because we didn't open bids until late Wednesday. We hadn't had a chance to go through them, make sure that they were valid. So that really wasn't an option. And I'm not a fan of special meetings either. This unfortunately was, schedule has dictated that we have this.
Additional comments or questions? All right, yes.
So just, I get that this is something we need to do, and I've asked you the last time as well, in regard to having two major intersections be under construction about the same time. And we're talking about basically the west side of town being kind of torn apart. And, you know, how is that gonna facilitate when people are trying to maneuver around one part of that and then coming over to the next part, which is so close in proxemics? Are we really gonna make sure that we are looking at when people are, their thoroughfares and how they get through without having to have two different detours now?
Yeah, we will. The majority of the construction done with this project will occur in a fashion that you are able to traverse through the site. You may have delays, there may be lane shifts to where you're neck down to one lane. But the first stage of construction would be to construct the new on and off ramps for southbound, while the existing on and off ramps remain. Once those are constructed up to the last tie-in point, there would be a short point in time. I want to say, I think it's identified as 7 days, day and night, that the ramp would be closed, that tie-in would be made, and then traffic would be switched over to the new lane, to the new on and off ramp, and then they would demo out the old on and off ramp. Along Folkerth, the delays are real minimal there. They're not relocating the alignment of Folkerth. They are doing some surface work to it, but it wouldn't be any different than one of our large rehab projects, say a Monte Vista or on Folkerth or Gear in front of the college, where when they are actually paving, people are probably going to be held up for maybe 30 minutes at a time while they're pulling the paving machine through the intersection. But in terms of coordinating the two between the West Main project and the Folkerth project, a majority of the work that requires detours for the West Main project in that Phase 1 area between Highway 99 and West Avenue South will be done before the ramp closures and the lane closures are required for the Folkerth project. There's a fair amount of work that the contractor has to do for the Folkerth interchange before shutting down any lanes or imposing any detours. But I hear you loud and clear. We will definitely make sure to communicate as well as we can and to minimize the impacts of having closures that affect one another.
Additional comments or questions?
One last thing.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that we have money that we want to use and we want to get this done. I sincerely can't stand the special meeting concept and the bravado, but I appreciate that at this point we're stuck with what we have. I prefer that this not become a norm. I don't know if my colleagues didn't get it, they got it sooner. I just feel like if everybody else is talking about it, the staff and everything, we need to know what's going on so we can have these questions filtered out. I mean, I got a lot of people called me, and when I was walking today, talking to people, they're asking about the monies and how's it working and this and that, and why is this a special meeting, what? So I just want to be able to be transparent with the public, tell them what we have. And so I mean, I understand we need to do this, and thank you for your efforts. Sometimes it just feels kind of like we're forced into a spot that we shouldn't have to be in.
And I want to thank staff for working hard on getting this information together. I think it's also incumbent upon us as council members to be engaged on these issues and know that these are coming up. These are votes that we've taken previous on the item, even when we took the RFP. So we owe you guys the engagement level that comes with being a member of this council, so that we are aware of all the information. So with that, is there any motion? What would we like to do? Yes, Councilmember DeHart.
Can I just ask one more question, Mayor? I just want to zero in one last time, if I could, Mr. Bray, on the follow-on as collected aspects of CFF admin.
Okay.
because they are development fees. I would be remiss if I didn't ask, what if those developments don't materialize? What happens then?
If they do not materialize and the city does not collect any CFF transportation funds, then that loan would still exist as the CFF transportation owes to the admin. The CFF admin is used to offset costs for general government associated with the development. So if there is no development, theoretically, we don't need to spend those CFF admin funds.
Thank you.
With that, I believe we can take the motions and resolutions at the same time. Do I have a motion? All of them,
Take them all at once?
all at once. Yes. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Scare, second by Councilmember DeHart. Clerk, please call, or read back and call the roll.
Authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute a project-specific maintenance agreement for SR 99 and Folkerth Interchange between the city of Turlock and the state of California by and through the Department of Transportation in a form approved by the interim city attorney. Appropriating $9,132,030 to account number 305-40-440-51270 construction project to be funded from SB1 grant proceeds and Fund 305 capital facility fee, unallocated reserves, transportation, and unallocated reserves admin to provide local match funding for city project number 0828 SR 99 Folkerth Road interchange. Awarding bid and approving an agreement in the amount of $11,295,867, Fund 305 with AG Construction of Clovis, California for city project number 0828 SR 99 Folkerth Road interchange in a form approved by the interim city attorney. Approving amendment number 7 to an agreement between the city of Turlock and Omni Means Ltd., a GHD company of Roseville, California, increasing the agreement term for a period of 12 months in the amount of $232,610 for engineering services during construction for city project number 0828 SR 99 Folkerth Road interchange, bringing the contract total to $1,831,660 in a form approved by the interim city attorney. Approving an agreement with NV5 of Manteca, California in the amount of $1,252,765.28 for construction management services for city project number 0828 SR 99 Folkerth Road interchange in a form approved by the interim city attorney. Councilmember Esquer?
Yes.
Councilmember DeHart?
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak?
No.
Mayor Soisek?
Yes. Motion carries 3-1. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second? All right, we have a motion by Councilmember DeHart, second by Councilmember Scare. All those in favor say aye. We're adjourned.